Hello, everyone. We have quite a few people today. That's good. Welcome, 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 everybody. And I can see people I've never met as well. So hopefully you're going to learn something today. Hopefully you're going to have fun as well. So we have a lot to do today, okay, as always, and very little time. So, let me just close this. So let's just go straight to business, okay? So let me share my screen. And if you could possibly give me a yes, if you... Hi, May. Can you see my screen, guys? Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. So, hello again, okay, hello everyone. I'm sorry we are not going to do too much of a chit chat at the start of the session because I just want to go straight to business because we have a lot to do. Today's session is going to be slightly different to all the previous sessions, if only because the main topic today is the British culture. So of course we'll be talking about English language as well, but it's the English language and the English culture together, okay, and how you can express this culture through the language. So I have a question for you, just to get this all off the ground. When you think of English people and when you think of the UK and think in stereotypes, what comes to mind? So when you think of English people, what comes to mind? Give me some ideas in the chat. And obviously, get politeness, Anastasia is saying. But obviously, we are talking about stereotypes, okay? But it's important, being really polite, Cindo is saying. Very polite, Maria Christina is saying. So I can see that the key word is politeness. But I have another question, because if this is the stereotype of the English people, are you saying that Spanish people, Italian people, Afghan people, or Pakistani people, or Ukrainian people are not polite? Tanya is saying very polite and friendly. But are you saying that your people, your nationality, people who live in your country are not polite? Anastasia is saying not so polite. Much more than Spanish people. We are less polite. You see, I have to say, Cindo, that I just don't share your sentiment. I don't think Spanish people are less polite. So what I think is that it's the language that makes us polite, okay? It's the way we use the language. We are not as polite as British people. I don't think so, Maria. I don't think you are less polite. It's all about the language and how you use it, okay? So let's look at politeness then, and let's look at the language. So today we are going to talk about understatement and levels of politeness. So you are saying, okay, that English people are very polite, right? So how do they achieve this level of politeness? Okay, how do we get to be so polite that then the stereotype is that the English people are the most polite nation in the world? So we do it by using hedges, softeners, we call them hedges. And we also, there's this concept of a social distance in the English language. Manners, Maria is saying. It's not as much manners, Maria, as the way language is used, okay? And hopefully I can show you this. So the concept of a social distance, and in English, okay, the more polite you are, the more of a social distance you create, okay? So this is also the case when we look at understatement. So when I say understatement, what comes to mind? How do you understand understatement? Oksana is saying using special words. Yeah, and that's exactly what we are going to look at today, like almost like trademark, English words to get to achieve this level of politeness and to create a social distance. Okay, so we sound polite. What's understatement? Okay, to value something less, to use, okay, good. So if you look at this little definition, so understatement is using the language in the way that you downplay the importance of something, the seriousness of something, okay? Now, understatement is a huge part of the British culture and the English language. So just to give you an example, okay, if you look at this is a real life example. It's road unsafe when under water. Now, what do you think when you look at this sign? What does it make you think? It's unsafe when underwater, but wouldn't you say that this is the case of a huge understatement? I mean, when a road is underwater, it's not just unsafe. Yes, yeah, but it's not dangerous. You can't, how can you drive when the road is underwater? You can't, you see? So this is the case of understatement. It's playing down the importance of the situation. And there is a lot of this in the English language. So let's look. I'm going to give you a little test. Okay. You have to be very mindful of the time because because there's very little time. So sorry if I may be rushing through this, but so we have two situations. Okay. Now, this is somebody's husband, okay? Don't worry about the two ladies for now, okay? So this is somebody's husband. Let's look at situation A. As you can see, okay, I mean, you can read the situation very, very clearly, very well. So there are two ladies on the sofa, okay? They've just met for a little gossip, okay? And they will be talking about this man, and this man is the husband of their friend. So they are talking about this man. What do you think they are saying? What do you think they may be saying? So this is two English ladies, okay? He's so lazy, Lina is saying. Very good, Sindel. That he's a bit lazy. Very good, Sindel. So a bit lazy. You are already using some kind of, hedges. You are softening the language. Somebody's husband is lazy. Now, I'd like you to note that three responses that I got in the chat, the three responses use the same word, lazy. Now, we wouldn't say that. We wouldn't say lazy, okay? This is what they may be saying. He's not terribly keen on working hard. He must be awfully rested. He doesn't quite have a million things to do, does he? He's not exactly busy at the moment. So if you look at this, okay, what do you think these ladies are saying? They are saying exactly what you said in the chat. They are saying he's a very lazy person. He's not at all busy. He's got nothing to do. He's just lazy, lazy, lazy. This is what they are saying. But if you look at the language, not once did they use the word lazy. Why is that? He's not tired, Tanya. He's lazy. But we tend not to use negative expressions like this. If you say that he's lazy, you're too blunt, you're too direct, and this is not the English language. So what we think is that he's lazy, but it's not what we say. Now, let's look at the second situation, okay? It's just a little experiment. So this guy, as you can see, he's snowed under. And when you are snowed under, means you are overwhelmed, okay? He's snowed under with work, okay? He has so much work to do, and he has to finish it by midnight, okay? If you look at this pile, you know that he's not going to complete it, okay? There's no way he can complete it. And the deadline is tonight. So what do you think he may be saying? Imagine that you call him, okay, and you want him to go out. You want him to go to the cinema with you this evening. What do you think he may be saying? Give me one or two ideas. What would you expect him to say? The deadline, I'm busy, good. Very good, Oksana. So he's swamped, yeah, he's snowed under, you could say, yeah. I'm terribly busy, Sinjo is saying. Oh, Sinjo, I can see you know some of the trademark expressions. I'm sorry, but I'm snowed under, Lina is saying. Yeah, that's good. Yes, very good. Now, what he would probably say is, I'm a little bit busy, okay? He may be saying, I have a bit of a situation here because of the looming deadline, okay? And he knows he's not going to finish. I haven't quite finished yet, and I'm in a pretty pickle, okay? What is he saying? What he's saying really is, it's a crisis situation, and I'm far from finishing. So this little exercise was to show you what happens in the English language, okay? You said this bloke was lazy. No, not necessarily. He's just not terribly keen on working hard, right? And he's not exactly busy. So what happens is, you are saying something negative, but in a positive way, right? So that's what we call understatement. And that's something that contributes and adds to the level of politeness. So it's very, very, very important in English. We're not blunt, we're not direct, okay? Same here, okay? This is just playing down the importance of the situation. It's a crisis situation, but you'd probably say I'm a little bit busy, okay? Now, let's just go to this one sentence. We have a bit of a situation here, and we are pretty stuck. So if someone said to you this, if someone said, we have a bit of a situation, we're pretty stuck, how serious would you think the situation is? How serious would you think the situation may be? Not really, Anastasia is saying. Exactly, not too much. Exactly, Ashik. Lina is saying very. Well, if you understand it as very serious, then it almost sounds like you have the British mind, okay? Because when someone says we have a bit of a situation here, it's probably saying it's a crisis, okay? So, you see, this is the problem with the English language, and that's exactly the problem of the level of politeness. So to a foreign student, to an untrained foreign ear, someone who is not used to this insouciant manner of expressing themselves, insouciant means not showing, being very casual, playing down the importance of things. If you are not used to this manner of expressing yourself or oneself, then you may actually, the real message may be lost on you. So let me just very quickly ask you why. So why do we do this? Okay, before we start looking at some examples, why do we do this? Why do we use understatement? Why do we understate things? So we do it to make a situation less strong or less important than it is. And it has something to do with the fact that we avoid displaying emotions, and we play down the importance of events, and we tone down the emotions and emotion of individual words, okay? So we also do it to be tactful, okay? We do it to be modest, and it's a big point, but also for irony and sarcasm, okay? So understatement is a huge part of the British culture. And for you to be able to understand the culture and the people, you have to get your head around what people actually mean when they say certain things. So this communication, again, we already talked about the insouciant manner of expressing themselves. And this kind of communication style may cause major problems because of misunderstandings. So if you take what the speaker says at its face value, you may underestimate the severity, or you may underestimate the importance of something. You may think, oh, it's not a big deal, right? And also, if you don't play by the rules, you will most certainly come across as someone who's very rude, okay? So if you're too blunt and too direct, you're rude in the English language, right? So let's look at just one more thing, okay? And this is supposed to be my humor, but it's not quite my humor. It's a fact. So you know that the English don't like to make a fuss. And I'm sure you know about the stiff upper lip behavior. Have you ever heard this expression, stiff upper lip? Looking at the chat, no. Oksana is saying no. Anybody? No. Okay. So, of course, okay. So a stiff upper lip behavior is something that's commonly associated with the British people, the British Empire in the history, right? If you look back, okay, the stiff upper lip behavior, or to have a stiff, to maintain a stiff upper lip, means to remain brave and stoic throughout a difficult situation. You know what the Queen used to say, never complain, right? So the British never complain. They just soldier on, okay? Now this expression, if you look at the baby, if you cry, your lips tremble, right? To maintain, to keep a stiff upper lip means don't cry, okay? So it's a stiff upper lip behavior. It's a stiff upper lip culture almost. So British complaint, yes, British complaints, the least, yeah, that's true, yes, they, it's because it's the culture. So the British, I'm just trying to teach you some vocabulary as well. We already talked about this, right? Insouciant. So they have this insouciant manner of expressing themselves, and it means playing down the importance of things. They also, I don't know if we have any French speakers, because this word comes from French. In English, we say sang-froid. So the British always keep their sang-froid, and they keep their poise using the language. So if you keep your composure, you keep your coolness, you keep your grace and elegance, it's sang-froid and poise, and language and understatement and the levels of politeness are used for this purpose. So this was just something I thought was interesting for you, okay? But now let's look at the actual understatement and the actual language. So we have this scenario, okay? You see this man, what can you say about him? And I want you to be, you can be tactful, you can be ironic, you can be humorous. What can you say about this man? What would you say about this man? If you were talking to a British person, what would you say? And I can tell you one thing, you would never say he's fat. Ironic, yeah, ironic means that you are saying something but you don't mean it, okay? And it's meant to be humorous, okay? So it seems he's a bit bored. Okay, Sindo, good. So it seems he's a bit bored. Very good. I like the it and I like the seems. He must be waiting for something or somebody. Very tactful, Anastasia is saying. Very good. He must be very good using modal verbs. But how about his look as well? You know, he's, I don't want to say this because if I say it, okay, I'll say it. He's not exactly thin, right? So you may want to say he may have a problem. I saw some of you were using modal verbs. Very, very, very good. He's quite obese. He's thinking about something. Would, yeah, but would maybe not here, Ashik, later, okay? He may be bigger than he likes it, right? He's a little on the big side, you could say. He's not the thinnest person, yeah? I said earlier, he's not exactly very thin. I wouldn't say he was thin. He must be awfully sad, right? Because if you think about, I mean, well, he must be awfully sad. And his visit to a dietitian is rather overdue. So what I want you to now tell me, okay, is, can you give me an example of a sentence where you're trying to be tactful? Or maybe I can just, I don't think we have time for this. So sorry, we just have to, I have to be giving you answers now because I'm watching the time and it's too much to do. So if you, softening of some, he may have a problem, very good. He may have a problem. This is being tactful, but it's also being non-judgmental. That's very, very important because the British don't judge. You see, again, this is, we use the language, we use modal verbs, okay? We avoid using I when we express opinions because we don't want to be judgmental. He may have a problem, I don't know, right? So may serves the purpose of kind of distancing yourself. So we have this one. Okay, now before we move on to the next one, I want you to note the use of the word quite. So we'll look at some trademarks. He appears upset. Very good, Rao. Very, very good. Very good. He appears upset. You are not judging. You're not saying he is. So you are actually creating a distance, right? So you're not saying I think, right? He appears to be. Now, let's look at some of the trademark expressions, okay? Let's look at quite first, because quite is quite tricky in English. I want you to look at all these expressions and I want you to tell me how, or all these examples, and tell me how the quite in every single example is different. So, have you finished with the report? Not yet. I'm not quite ready. Have you seen her new house? I have, yes. It's quite splendid. Would you like a coffee? Oh, no, I'm quite all right. Peter is coming back tomorrow. That's not quite correct. He's back next week. And then we have quite here. So how did I do? Did you like my presentation? Yeah, it was quite good. Shall we meet at 9 a.m.? I think 9 is quite late. We better meet earlier. And I think you're quite pretty. Right. I don't think I want to go out with you again. Now, can you tell me if you think that each quite in all these examples has the same meaning, or can you sense some kind of a difference between how we use quite? Quite is an adverb, and it's an adverb of degree. It's one of the trademark English expressions, you need to know how to use quite to moderate your language. Actually, the lesson is quite hard, Asma is saying. Very good. Now, if you say quite hard, okay, I understand it. Ashik is saying a little. When you say it's quite hard, I understand it. It's extremely hard. Is this what you are trying to say, Asma? Good. Sindo is saying, Asma is saying, yes, good. So quite hard. The way I understand it is it's incredibly hard. It's very hard. So Sindo is saying there's a difference in meaning. Yes. If you look at the expressions or the examples on the left, okay, the meaning here is 100% completely. Just like when you say it's quite hard. Okay, when you say that something is hard, to me it sounds like it can't be harder or less hard or more hard. It's just hard. It's ungradable. If it's ungradable and you use quite, okay, just like ready. If you say ready, you can't be half ready. You're either ready or not ready. There's nothing in the middle. So it's an ungradable adjective. So if you use quite with ungradable adjectives, what you are saying is 100% completely, okay? So if you say quite splendid, it's not just moderately or fairly splendid. It's absolutely stunning, okay? That's what you're saying. So quite, when you are quite all right, okay, you can't be a little bit all right or more all right. You are either this or that. So quite all right means I'm set, okay? I don't need anything. So the same goes for correct, right? You can't be less or more correct. You are either this or that. So all these examples on the left, quite means 100%. But if you look at the examples on the right, and you look at quite good, quite late, and quite pretty, that means fairly, that means moderately. It doesn't mean 100%. So now, having said that, if someone says to you, if an English person says to you, if you have an English boss, you go to your boss and you say, so how did you like my performance? How did you like my presentation? And your boss says, yes, it was quite good. How should you understand it? Are you happy or not? What's your next question? What are you going to ask your boss? Not happy, Ashiki say, no. Because this quite is not the same as this quite. This quite means that your next question should be, all right, okay, so what can I do to improve? So quite with a gradable adjective means that you still have to improve, okay? It doesn't mean the same as quite splendid or quite all right. Now, the last example is meant to be, again, tongue-in-cheek, so humorous. If you go out with a girl and you say to her that she's quite pretty, if you say it to an English girl, she'll be offended because quite pretty means you're all right, you're okay. It's not what a woman wants to hear. So be very, very, very careful with quite. But quite is one of those trademark expressions that we use to moderate, to soften words when we want to be polite. And I'm going to show you this in a minute, just looking at the time. And one more thing that I need to point out to you is the use of more gradable, more adverbs of degree, such as terribly and awful, okay? These two examples come from the previous slide. So he's not terribly keen on working hard. He must be awfully sad. Now, sad happens to be a negative adjective, but keen is positive. Now, if you look at these examples, okay, sorry is negative, but clever, talented, good, and beautiful are positive adjectives. So look what happens in the English language. We use negative adverbs with positive adjectives. right? So awfully doesn't mean bad. Awfully means incredibly, very much. So if someone looks awfully sad, they look very sad, incredibly sad. If you are terribly, not terribly, terribly keen, terribly is again, incredibly, right? So this is another very, very British thing, okay? In the English language, this is used to soften certain adjectives or to intensify certain adjectives. So let's just very quickly do this example. Awfully sorry. Where would you put this? Where would you put awfully sorry? Which example? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on, 5, good. So I'm awfully sorry for being late. And when you say that, you are incredibly polite. Okay, when you say that you're terribly or awfully sorry, you are very, very polite. How about dreadfully clever? Where would you put dreadful? Number 2? Maybe not 2. It could be, but that wasn't here. So he must be dreadfully clever. I mean, look at him. He's an astrophysicist. How about terribly talented? Number 4, that's it. So he's talented, but how can I intensify it, or how can I soften it in? So what you are doing is you don't want to be overexcited. You don't want to display your emotions. So you use this to soften talented, to keep your stiff upper lip, right? And to keep your compose, yeah? Awfully good. Number 2, very good, and devastatingly beautiful is number 1. So it's just a little activity to show you or to make you aware of the little tricks that we have in the English language, right? To make us sound, to distance yourself, okay, from the listener in a sense. Now, so where are we? We are here. Now, very quickly, let's look at the second scenario. So you've taken 10 exams and you passed them all with the score of 100%. Someone asks you, how did you do on your test? What do you say in English? Perhaps it's the same as in your language. I mean, I don't know. What would you say? I did perfectly well, Anastasia is saying. Terribly good, Lina is saying. Anybody else? No? Okay. So to be honest, Anastasia and Lina, you wouldn't say that. So you'd probably say, I mean, some people say that, okay? It's don't get me wrong, but you'd probably say, I did okay. So the English would say, I did okay. So this is a case of an understatement. And why do we do that? It's someone else may respond, okay, you did awfully well, right? Yes, perfectly fine. But it's because of it's because of what we said earlier, that the British don't like to show their feelings, and to be honest, it's unseemly in English. It's really unseemly to boast. So it's unseemly to brag. So when you ask someone this question, they will probably say, oh, I did okay. I think it was all right. I did all right. Instead of, I did fantastic. I had the best results. This is unseemly, okay? It's almost like you're bragging, you're boasting, okay? We don't want to know that. So it's all about modesty and self-effacement. When you remove the attention from yourself, you don't want all the attention on you. And it's a very, very British thing. Again, it's part of the understatement. I don't know if this comes as a shock to you, but it's actually, it's how it is. it's and it's often very difficult, very hard for foreign students to read what the English, the British people really say, because of the understatement that they use. And so, okay, let's just move on. Scenario number 3. It's the last one, and then we can change the topic slightly. So this is your worst day, okay, of your life. You've lost your job. Your wife has just left you, and you've had an accident and you've crashed your car. Now, someone is calling you and asking you about your day. What do you think this man can say? Now, remember, now you understand that it's all about understatement. It's all about not being over emotional, not being over excited, and keeping your cool. Not the best day. Very good. Georgie is saying it's not exactly the best day, you could say. Yeah. Give me one more idea. Can you give me one more understatement? It was not what beautiful, Lina. Okay, so the day is not exactly what I expected. It's not a fantastic day, Sindo. Very good, very good. So look, okay, we are now going to move on to another trademark expression, rather. So it's rather disappointing. I lost my job today. Okay, so it's disappointing. As a matter of fact, it's crushing, but you use rather disappointing. Okay. It's rather a shame my wife has left me when I lost my job, and crashing my car is a bit of a nuisance. Well, it's not exactly the best day today, and things perhaps aren't quite as wonderful as they could be. These two you actually put in the chat. Bad hair day, Anastasia is saying, yes, that's exactly what it is. So it's a horrific experience and a horrible day. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to a little summary of what we just said about understatements. So how can we do it? How can you achieve this effect of understatement that's part of the English language and the English culture? So we soften some words, right? So we can say, well, a bit, okay, a bit is a softener. It's not quite as good, yeah, very good, very good. A little bit busy. So words like a bit, a little, a bit of a situation, pretty, rather, okay, rather, and then we have I'm quite finished, quite obese, and awfully rested. All these expressions are hedges and softeners. Okay, so we do it when you listen out for this language. Next time you have a conversation with a native speaker, well, not necessarily a native speaker, but someone who has a high level of English. When you watch films, when you watch movies, when you listen to the news, listen out for understatements. Listen out for how the speaker is trying to soften some of the words, or the power, the impact of some of the words. Rather shame, rather disappointing. Of course, we can use euphemisms. You can use modal verbs. And another thing that's big, and I hope I managed to show it to you earlier. We use positive words with not. We avoid negative expressions. So effectively, we are saying something negative in a positive way. Like instead of saying I'm good at, you can say I'm not bad at something. So I'm not bad. You are saying something negative in a positive way. So I wouldn't say he was thin, right? So what you are saying is something negative, right? You are saying he's fat, but you are saying it in a positive way. He's not exactly busy. You're saying he's lazy, but saying it in a positive way. It's not exactly the best day. saying something negative in a positive way. So that's something that perhaps you could play with next time you want to complain, next time you want to make a statement, a negative statement, say it in a positive way, okay? Now, can we just very, very quickly, okay, do some practice? And we have these two pictures. Now, what do you think is happening? You don't want to say these people are fighting because that would be too direct. We don't want to be direct. You want to be less direct. You don't want to be judgmental. You want to be tactful. What do you think? What would you say to me? It seems like they are having an argument. Okay, Sindo, yeah, very good. I like the I really like the use of seems. They are speaking quite loudly. Sorry, argument. Okay. Yeah, okay. They are not happy with each other. I like that. I would actually say they are not exactly happy. If you, Georgie, if you add exactly, okay, you are softening the message. They are screaming. These two people don't seem quite happy. I love that, Lena. Okay, they don't seem quite happy. Very good. You could potentially say, I think their opinions are slightly different on this matter. Okay, so or you can use the vague language that the English use a lot. So they kind of agree, they sort of agree, and that means they disagree. So again, it's the case of reading the English. If you say they sort of agree, it's effectively saying they disagree, and their opinions are slightly different. But the answers you provided in the chat, really good. How about this one? So you wake up in the morning, that's what you see. They are quite intolerable to each other, Tanya is saying. Very good, quite intolerable, would you say? Or quite, maybe look for a different adjective, but I can see that you are getting there. You understand how quite can actually soften the adjective that comes after that. How about this picture? What would you say? Come on, guys, because we are running out of time and I have so much more for you to do. It doesn't seem I can use my car. Yeah, that's it. You could say that. My idea was to say it's a bit nippy outside. I better take a jacket. So you don't want to say it's freezing. It's absolutely freezing. It's a bit nippy outside. I better take a jacket. When you watch English films, listen out for understatements, because you'll see a lot of this. You'll see an image like this and a man or a woman saying it's a bit nippy, which is obviously an understatement. And how about this girl? What would you say about her? Now it should be easy. You don't want to say that she's very, very tall, that she's maybe a bit too tall. You just wouldn't say that. What can you say? You can say, well, she's not short. Okay, so again, you are saying, using not a positive, maybe adjective, okay? And one last thing, how about this? Okay, so you have this picture. Now, my idea was, do you think I need an umbrella? It's an understatement. How about this one? Looks like it rained a bit last night, okay? A very, very British thing to say. Now, okay, let's move on, guys. So we had a very quick look at understatement and how it's used. Now we are going to use look at some tricks to do with how to be polite, okay? So let's look at this sentence. Well, actually, let's look at the first one together, and then I'll show you the whole page. If someone said this to you, okay, she's on the tall side. Very good. I just saw it in there. This is very, very, very good. Okay, euphemism. If someone said to you this, you must improve your English. You need to spend more time practicing your speaking. How would you take this message? If a teacher said to you, you must improve your English, you need to spend more time practicing your speaking, would you be happy with that? Anastasia is saying, no, why not? Why not? I mean, it's probably what the teacher wants to say. This is what the teacher wants to communicate. You're quite good. You're quite good. Very good means there's room for improvement. Yeah, that's very encouraging because practice makes a man perfect. Yeah, Rao is saying. But the way it's said, okay, it's too blunt. Okay. In English, we say too blunt. It's too direct. Okay. It's almost judging. Okay. And also, think about it. Okay. This way of speaking, for someone who is, for an English person, okay, the immediate reaction is, well, I'm sorry, but who are you to tell me this? Who are you to say must or need? So there's not enough distance. You come across as someone who's very, very, very direct and very blunt, and that's not in the English language. So what I want you to do now is very quickly look at these. Okay, let's look at them together. They are all very rude. Okay, give me some paper, please. Okay, some people may say, I used the word please, so what's the problem? I'll tell you in a minute that please, okay, I'll show it to you. Please is not always the magic word. Please doesn't necessarily mean that you are polite. Using please doesn't make you a polite person. This food is disgusting. I mean, obviously, that's very rude. You're too young to be married. Now, who are you to tell me this, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but everybody is entitled to their own opinions. You can't be saying things like this to me. No, I'm not coming to your party. Very rude. What do you want? I mean, you can't think of anything more rude than that. I want you to help me, please. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't care what you want. Please stop talking. Okay, that's rude. That could be very, very, very rude, even though you use the word please. Please have a look at my proposal. Now you are sounding really very, very needy, you know, here. Like you sound like you're begging me. Do you want to sound like that? You don't. So the fact that you use the word please doesn't make you polite. It makes you a little bit pathetic. Okay, so I kind of feel sorry for you. Please come to my party. Another one also sounds very pushy. If you said to me, please come to my party, you are cornering me, okay? Making me feel like, you know, there's no distance. You can't be saying to me, okay? And the last one, where do you come from, love? You are too familiar, okay? We don't say this to people. So let's look at the first example, this one. You must improve your English. You need to spend more time practicing your speaking. How can you make it more polite? And come on, guys, give me answers as quickly as you can, because I have a summary activity for you at the end, and I really want you to do it. You could be even better. Very good. You could be even better. I like that. You should improve. Should is okay, but then again, should, Oksana, I could ask you, why are you shoulding me? Okay, why are you saying, who are you to say I should? Okay, so there may be an issue with that. Why don't you spend, Sindo is saying, oh, I like that, or this I really like. It's making a suggestion, and this is really, really nice. We are going to look at negative questions used for this purpose in a minute as well. You must keep trying. Again, must. There is a problem with must, Raoul, because it's too blunt here. So what we could say, your English could possibly improve. Okay, you may need to spend more time practicing. You may want to consider spending more time practicing your speaking a little bit. So look what happened here. So what happens is, oh, come on, no, no, no. What we are using here is we use passive mode, okay? Look how the sentence is different. The moment you say you, it's almost like pointing, you must do that, okay? Why don't you turn it around? And why don't you passive to create a distance? This way, you are not saying you, you're saying your English. Modal verbs could, possibly, so words like perhaps, possibly, potentially, perhaps is a beautiful word, okay? All these words soften and tone down the next one. So if you say possibly improve, you are toning down this message, right? So your English could possibly improve. Your English could be improved a bit more. Yeah, that's it. That's the direction, Sindo. Now, the magic of may, okay? You may want to do that. You may need to do that instead of you need to. Can you not sense the difference? If I say to you, you need to do that, and if I say to you, you may need to do that, can you see the difference? Can you see my tone? When I add may, I sound more polite. I'm not confrontational. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm suggesting things, right? So you create a distance. Now, let's look at this. The food is disgusting. How can you change this? Come on, you only have about 20 seconds to give me one answer. I know I'm expecting a lot from you because I know how it is in the chat. Meal is not delicious. Very good, but you see, Rao, can you tone it down, okay? Delicious, you could say it's not quite delicious, or you could say it's not as good as expected, but that's exactly how you should be. Very good, you used not, right? So it's not as delicious as I expected, maybe. Because if you say not delicious, it's a statement, right? It's not delicious. It's not as delicious as I expected. The food may have been better. Very good. I said could be better. Very good, Christina. So you can feel it. I can see that you can feel this. Now, how about, before I ask you, how about this? Someone says you're too young to be married. So effectively, someone is stating their opinions, telling you things. When you feel like, I'm sorry, but who are you to tell me? So what can we say here? Because this verges on preaching, you know, when we preach and we like to give moral advice, you know, in a very pompous way. So we don't want to be preaching. So how can you avoid this? Because preaching is rude. You are not an adult yet, yes, you could say that. But then when you say you are not an adult, again, you may be preaching. You sound like someone telling somebody something. It's taste not scrumptious. Oh, yeah, for the previous one, Rao. Yeah. So what you can do, one of the softeners, okay, and don't play down the importance of these words. So I reckon, I feel, I guess, okay, you are distancing yourself, okay, from what you are about to say. It's rather too early. That's good, Christina, but be careful, because when you say it's rather too early here, you may sound, this message may sound a little bit like preaching, okay? So what you could do, you could say, I feel, okay, I feel it may be rather too early. That's good, because it's rather too early. That's preaching to me. What about thinking in some, that's it, Maria, another Maria is saying. So what about, or you may consider doing it later, yeah, something like that. So you may be too young instead of you are too young, right? Avoid this language, avoid preaching, avoid offending people. And obviously a little bit too young maybe to modify this. And you seem, you appear. So you seem too young, okay? You seem rather too young, to use Christina's idea, right? But instead of it's rather, you seem rather too young. I feel you may be too young, rather too young. All this. And how about just turning it into a negative question? You see, negative questions. Aren't you a little bit too young? So you are not saying that I'm too young. You're asking me. But at the same time, a negative question, when you're saying this, I know that that's what you think, right? You think I'm too young, but you are not saying it in a blunt way, too direct way. So I reckon, I feel, seem, appear, and negative questions. Very good, guys. Now, how about if I asked you, okay, so this one is not plus a positive word. And then we have these from the earlier or later slide. Oh, sorry, I've just, hold on, I don't want to show it to you. Now, you made a mistake. Someone comes to you and say, your boss comes to you and says, you made a mistake. Now, this is rather rude, okay? Saying this is rude. So how can we make it sound a little bit more polite? Are you sure about that? Very good, Georgie. Yeah, that's it. Very good. Any more? Give me one more idea before I show you my ideas. Okay, I'll show you. So again, use passive, okay? So instead of you, change it to this could perhaps be changed. So instead of saying you made a mistake, which is it sounds like an accusation, right? It's very confrontational. You can just say this could, modal verb, perhaps, okay, to make it even softer, more hedges, a little bit. So you are using all this. This could perhaps be changed or corrected a little bit, right? Now, I feel you may have made a mistake. Could you check that again? Very good, Maria. That's also very, very good. Can you think about it again, Tanya? That's it. I feel you may have made a mistake and you seem to have made a mistake instead of you made a mistake. And negative questions. Didn't you just make a mistake? This is another way, but we don't just say you made a mistake. It's very, very rude. So what we use is perhaps, sort of, kind of, passive mode whenever possible, okay? And saying something negative in a positive way, right? And also expressions like distance yourself, avoid you, avoid I, okay? So you seem, you, I feel, I guess, I reckon, you seem, you appear. Now, let's move on because little time and I want to show you another thing. Okay. Right, I'm not coming to your party. How can you make this sound a little bit less rude, because that's incredibly rude. So how can you say no? Okay, I'll show you because sorry, I can't make it. That's good. Very good. I'm afraid. And I knew that someone will say I'm afraid. That's why I put it here as the first one. I'm unable to attend. This is very good, but it's good to start the sentence somehow. So this is called tentative language, when you are not kind of sure. So I'm afraid I may not be able. I'm not sure I'll be able. Or avoid I. It's looking unlikely I'll be able to come. It may not be possible for me to come. So look, I is changed to it, and you use this tentative language, which effectively means you are hesitant. So instead of saying no, even though you know you're not coming, but in English, we don't say it, okay? So it's not, I will try, but can't promise. That's it. That's a good one as well. So yeah, so use this kind of language and questions and requests. What do you want? Okay, I know we have to run over, okay, but just slightly. So what do you want? You could say, are you looking for help, right? So instead of what do you want? So what we use is continuous and progressive tenses. Progressive tenses are very polite. Now, did you want my help? Now, why did I use did here? Is it not, could I help you? That's it. That's good. That's good. But I want to take it a little bit further than could I help you? Okay, so did you want my help? Or did you want me to help you? Were you looking for help? Now, these three, am I talking about past? No, Georgie's saying distance. Beautiful. Now, remember that if you want to be polite in English, you have to create this distance. And we use past forms to create this distance. So, so what happens is you use progressive forms, but you also use past forms. So when you go shopping, for example, a shop assistant will never ask you, well, of course, can I help? But most of the time it's the, did you want my help? Did you ask for another one? Did you want to try this on? We used did to create this, this distance. We used past forms and in particular, progressive forms. The past progressive form is really, really, really a polite kind of language. Now, I want you to help me. What can we say? I was wondering if you could help me. I was thinking perhaps you could help me, right? So past progressive. Could you help me at all? Now, here is another little trick. We use at all at the end of the sentence if we know that people may be reluctant to do something. So could you help me at all? And by adding this at all, you are being polite, okay? Same goes for just. Such a little thing, but it has a huge impact. I just wanted to ask. So past tense, because you want to create the distance, and you use just to soften wanted. So I just wanted to ask. Can I just ask you, right? And how about this? Because that's a big one. You couldn't help, could you? So what happens in English, again, we make negative statements with the question tag. And this is a very, very, very polite way of asking someone, especially when you know that you wouldn't be asking for this normally. So you couldn't help me, could you? Right? I dropped me. So you couldn't help me, could you? Or I don't suppose you could help me, could you? So this, okay, negative statements with a question tag, that's another very, very polite way of asking something. So how can you change this? Give me some paper, please. Make it sound more polite. Come on, guys. It's incredible because I have one more thing that I need to show you, and then I want, could you give me, that's it, Anastasia, but could you possibly give me, could you give me some, you are all saying, could you, would you mind, that's it, would you mind giving it to me? Right, give me more. I was wondering maybe, right, so I was wondering if you could, could you give me some paper at all? I just wanted to ask you to give me some paper if that's possible. I was thinking, maybe not thinking, I was wondering, yeah, okay, I was thinking if you could give me some paper. Yeah, so can I just ask you for some paper, please? So not just, you are all saying, did you see your answers? Everybody was saying, could you? And there's nothing wrong with could you. But what I'm trying to show you is that there's more variety. Okay, you don't have to just say could you each time you ask for a favor. You could say, I just wanted to ask, can I just ask you, you couldn't help me, could you? You couldn't give it to me, could you? I was wondering if, could you please? That's it. And one last thing that I want to show you. Okay, please come to my party. Please stop talking. Please have a look at my proposal. We talked about this already. That's being pushy. Okay, I wouldn't like that. That may be rude. And this, you sound like you are begging me. Okay, not very professional, right? Please, please. It's all like, I want you to do this. Okay, now let's change this. Okay, so for the first one, we could say, I was rather hoping that you could. Again, very good. I hope you can. Now, but that's it. But when you say, I hope you can, Georgie, there's a difference between I hope you can, I was hoping. When you say, I hope you can, it sounds like you assume I can. So it's already asking me for a favor, but I know that you assume I can. If you want to be more polite, you'd probably say I was hoping, and we use rather to soften hoping, to soften the message. I was rather hoping that you could come to my party. I was going to ask you to come to my party. And the last one, will you be coming to my party? Have you ever used the future continuous to ask somebody or to express a polite inquiry? So will you be coming to my party? If you asked me this, it's a very, very, very unimposing way of asking. What you are asking is, I really want you to come, but there's no pressure. Okay, so I'm just asking, don't feel like there is any pressure. I understand you may not be able to come, but so I'm creating a distance, and I'm trying not to make you feel like you have to do it. So will you be coming to my party? No pressure. I would be happy if you come. That's it. Yes. How about please stop talking? We could just say it would be great if you. And a very simple one. I'm trying to work. Do you mind? That's a nice one. Or perhaps, if you wouldn't mind just staying quiet for a little bit, would you? If you wouldn't mind just being quiet for 10 minutes, would you? And I hope you won't mind if I ask you to be a little bit more quiet. So again, I hope you won't mind. Future forms to be polite, okay? And the last one, okay, instead of begging, okay, you could say, I was wondering if you couldn't have a look, could you, right? Could or would you have a look at all? Because you see, you wouldn't be normally asking this, so you're adding at all. I wanted to ask if you could just. So here, okay, be mindful of this. So will you be doing something? Now, I know we have to finish because we've already run over, but I have all these sentences for you to make them sound polite, using all the techniques that we discussed. But I don't know if we can do it. So I'm kind of trying to think of how to deal with it, whether this could be homework or whether, do you want to have a look at this? Anastasia is saying yes. Can we have a look at it, Aris? Lina is saying yes. Okay, 5 more minutes. So do you want another coffee? What can we say? We could say, I'm not even going to ask you for answers. I'll just show you my answers. Did you want another coffee at all? So past tense, right? I thought you might like another coffee. So past tenses, right? To distance yourself, to sound polite, as opposed to do you want. I confused the date. Sorry, I didn't come. I seem to have confused the dates. I'm awfully sorry. I'm terribly sorry, right? I need your manager's number. I have to talk to him. Now, we don't give managers' numbers, so you wouldn't be asking about this normally. So do you have his number at all? Right? I would like to take your car, but I'm not sure if you need it later. No pressure, though. Will you be needing your car later? So I'm just asking, okay? Asking for a favor, but there's no pressure, okay? I want to say something. Please let me. I just want to say something, if I may, or if you will allow me. This is Sindor's expression, and I really like it. If you will allow me. Please, can I stay at your place? This actually happened. Someone asked me this. Someone asked me, Gabi, please, can I stay at your place when I'm in London? And that was the exact way the person asked me. Now, when I heard this, I was like, yeah, I mean, this is making me really uncomfortable, okay? Because it really sounds like someone is begging me and someone is really needy. Now, it would have been different if this person said, I couldn't stay at your place when I'm in London, could I? So it's all about how you ask people to do things. Have you finished your report? I just wanted to ask if perhaps your report has been finished. So passive, perhaps, past tense, and just, yeah? We are going on a trip. Join us if you're free. No pressure, though. So will you be joining us on the trip, right? A polite way, unimposing way of asking. I hope you can help me more. I was hoping you could perhaps help me a bit more. I'm £5 short and can't buy this book I really like. Could you lend me £5 at all? You couldn't lend me £5 at all, could you? And have some more food, okay? It's okay, okay, but it sounds, it's a command. How about using do? Do have some more food, do come in, do sit down, to create this effect of being polite. Now, this time you really, we have to finish. I hope you've learned something today. I hope I've managed to communicate something to you. It was a lot, I know. But I really hope it's going to give you an idea of how to expand your language a little bit, how to understand English people, how to read between the lines, and hopefully you are now going to listen out for understatement in the English language. So when you watch a movie, next time you watch a movie, listen out for this, okay? Make a note of the language that you hear and develop a feel for the language, okay?